Hello, in this video we will look at the ethanol effect on body. So the ethanol is basically the ethyl alcohol. When we will take the ethyl alcohol, chronic consumption of alcohol, so the when we will take the alcohol inside of the digestive tract, when we will drink, so basically move into the stomach. So the when move into the stomach, it will lead to absorb water from the digestive tract. So that means it is used for the dehydration. So the basically is, if we will 100% alcohol consumption, 100% concentrated alcohol consumption will lead to burn the tissue due to the dehydration of the tissue. So basically it is not 100%, but it is chronic alcohol consumption basically lead to cause effect in our body, we will discuss. So basically here is the intestinal cell. We will cross section of the intestine when the alcohol will move into the intestine. So intestinal cell is the anterior side is the contain, and here is the mucous membrane used for the barrier immunity and prevent the invasion of the bacteria. So here is the digestive tract, which contain a microbiome. So the chronic consumption of alcohol, which the gram negative bacteria is basically the bacteria which grow more, and the gut permeability will be increased, and also lipopolysaccharide will be produced from the consumption of alcohol through bacteria, gram negative bacteria. So the lipopolysaccharide, which that is also used for the permeability, gut permeability, and increased circulatory lipopolysaccharide and lipid plus carbohydrates. On the other hand, the basically is the stomach to intestine, that is the microbiota are present. There are a lot of different type of bacteria are present in the digestive tract. So on the other hand, here is the blood circulatory system, basically the blood vessel. So it will lead to lipopolysaccharide when the permeability will be increased due to the chronic alcohol consumption. So the lipopolysaccharide will be moved into the blood. So when move into the blood, that is my major more important thing is that when alcohol also move into the blood circulatory system, so the alcohol will move and breathe out from the respiration, from the breathing mechanism due to the exhalation of the carbon dioxide. So the alcohol is also the light molecule which that is also released. So it means that 12% or 20% alcohol will be lost from the breathing. So that is why the smell of the alcohol through breathing will be indicate that alcohol consumption. So let's begin to understand the physiological effect of ethanol. We will discuss. So first of all, that was the initial point. So let's begin to understand. Here is the liver. This liver is contain a hepatocyte. So the hepatocyte are present in the form of lobule. This lobule is the part of the hepatocyte which contain a sinusoids and hepatic stellate cell, and basically is the a part of the liver which that is contain a sinusoid, and sinusoid is contain surrounded by the hepatocyte. So you can see in this picture. By the way, we will discuss also in another video about the liver anatomy. So that is another video that will be. So here is the Kupffer cell are present in the sinusoid, liver sinusoid. This Kupffer cell will recognize by the toll-like receptor through the lipopolysaccharide recognized by the attachment, and the Kupffer cell will produce the inflammatory mediators, cytokines, tumor necrotic factor alpha, interleukin 1, alpha and beta, interleukin 6 and interleukin 12. This inflammatory mediator will lead to move into the blood and recruit the macrophage, and also the macrophage is basically move into the liver sinusoid, which that is consume the lipopolysaccharide. Why? Because the excess of lipopolysaccharide is the dangerous in our body. So important thing is that basically the inflammation will be increased due to the Kupffer cell will lead to give the positive effect of the hepatic stellate cell. This hepatic stellate cell will lead to increase due to the inflammatory mediator, which that is also produce the interleukin 8. This interleukin 8 is basically lead to a move into the blood circulatory system and the recruitment of the neutrophil where the near of the liver, which that will be the neutrophil will recruitment of the neutrophil, and thus neutrophil also used for the endocytosis of the lipopolysaccharide, as well as some bacteria are present in our blood. Why? Because the permeability will be increased, so the bacteria is also move into the blood circulatory system, some bacteria. So that is neutrophil will lead to endocytosis. So one more important thing here is the somatic cell and nervous system. Increased water in the circulatory system cause high blood pressure and polyuria and polydipsia will be occur. While on the other hand, the dehydration of the somatic tissue and dehydration of the nervous tissue will be occur. So that's dehydration will lead to brain fog, abnormal function of the body. So on the other hand, here is the inflammation due to the hepatic stellate cell. Neutrophil and macrophage activates the hepatic stellate cell together and cause inflammation and fibrosis of the liver. And activation of stellate cell will lead to myofibrocytes to increase the collagen production, and this collagen production will increase the fibrosis of the liver, hepatic fibrosis. So that was the physiological effect of ethanol. We will discuss also the biochemical effect of the hepatocytes. So let's begin to understand the biochemical effect of the hepatocyte. So the hepatocyte is basically used for the biochemistry to degradation of the ethanol molecule. So ethanol molecule degradation is known as the catabolism. While on the other hand, here is the ethanol increase to deficiency of the vitamin B1, that is known as the thiamine. So the thiamine deficiency lead to increase the beriberi disease, pale skin disease, smooth tongue, muscle weakness, and vision loss. So that's all thing is basically vitamin B deficiency. So first of all, here we will learn that beriberi production, that is a disease due to the deficiency of vitamin B1, and pale skin, smooth tongue, muscle weakness, and vision loss. Why? Because all these things require the vitamin B for B1 for the normal function. So important thing is that the weakness of the muscle is lead to decrease our health benefit and our health decreasing of the health. So that was. Now we will discuss about the biochemical effects. So the biochemical effect, we will understand the biochemistry of the alcohol inside of the hepatocyte. So here I am drawing the whole picture of the hepatocyte to understand the mechanism and catabolism of the metabolism, the catabolism of the alcohol. So the chronic alcohol consumption, if either alcohol is the cheaper or expensive, it will not depend. It will lead to cause the chronic alcohol consumption, will lose our health, we will discuss here. So that's all type of alcohol is if we will excess consumption of ethanol will lead to negative effect, while on the other hand the small amount of alcohol can give the positive effect, but I am not recommending. Basically that is we will discuss here is the ethanol. When move into the hepatocyte, that's ethanol will convert into the acetaldehyde by the ethanol dehydrogenase enzyme. This process is the 70% and lead to produce the NADH increase. So the increasing of the NADH, while on the other hand the cytochrome cytochrome P, which that is the process which produce the reactive oxygen species due to the production of acetaldehyde, and the 25% this process this production. So this will lead to reactive oxygen species damage DNA, epigenetic mutation, and addiction, as well as point mutation. While on the other hand, the acetaldehyde in the presence of aldehyde dehydrogenase acetaldehyde dehydrogenase enzyme used to produce the NAD plus convert into the NADH, and increasing of the NADH as well as produce the acetate. This acetate is basically also itself is the reactive species, reactive oxygen species. This acetate is also increase, so the increasing of the acetate will also cause the mutation as well as the tissue damage. So on the other hand, here is the when acetate will convert into the acetyl CoA. So this different process, and I am missing this process. So the NADH, which that is also increase, this increasing of the NADH will lead to produce the NAD plus. So that will be increase the basically NADH increasing to increase the acetyl CoA convert into the acetyl CoA, and this acetyl CoA will convert into the fatty acid, and fatty acid will increase. So the increasing of the NADH, it means we will not need to increase the fatty acid oxidation, beta oxidation. So it means the triglyceride production. So the triglyceride is the basically adipose tissue deposition factor. These triglyceride will be deposit into the adipose tissue, so that lead to obesity. So it means the increase of the weight due to the fat. So the fatty acid, fatty liver and fat will be, obesity will be increased. So on the other hand, here we will discuss about the glucose. So the inhibition of the glucose catabolism, how it's important to understand that is glucose will move inside from GLUT4 channel, and glucose will able to produce pyruvate, so produce NADH. So this mechanism will be inhibited due to the excess of the NADH production. So that will lead to inhibit, while on the other hand the other mechanism in the mitochondria is also inhibited due to the excess of the NADH production. So the NADH, we are requiring the NADH, but from the glucose it is impossible because the NADH is already high. So that will be inhibit the glucose production, glucose to ATP production as well as the NADH production through the glycolysis and the Krebs cycle. So on the other hand, the acetyl CoA will produce from the glucose, but the acetyl CoA are present. So NADH is also present, so it will lead to inhibit the glucose catabolism. So also it will be NADH inhibit the fatty acid production through the beta oxidation to produce acetyl CoA is also inhibited due to the excess of the NADH. So it will lead to cause the fatty liver, steatosis and cirrhosis. It is basically the fatty liver, and as adipose tissue development, obesity creation, and beta oxidation of fat will be lead to decrease. Why? Because the NADH will inhibit the beta oxidation of the fatty acid. So the triglyceride is the lipolysis will be decreased, while the lipogenesis will be increased, and fatty acid in the blood circulatory system will be decreased due to the lipogenesis and triglyceride conversion. So here is the hypoglycemia will be occur. Why hypoglycemia will be occur? Because the glycogenesis will be occur and glycogenolysis will be decreased. Why? Because we will not need the glucose. So the hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia is also occur in the passage of time during the first chronic alcohol consumption, for example, first phase. So here is the neurological effect by alcohol consumption we will discuss here. That was the biochemical effect. Now we will discuss about the neurological effect by alcohol consumption. So here is the here is the basically blood circulatory system, while here is the nervous system. Nervous system contain a potassium and sodium with the respect of the constitution on the inside and outside. That potassium will move against the osmotic gradients outside 2 and inside 2 3 sodium to change the chemical conduction. So basically the electrical conduction, the normal conduction is the minus 70 millivolts, which that is disrupt. Why? Because the dehydration. Water are present in the blood circulatory system due to the excess ethanol consumption. So the ethanol will be dehydrated the water from the tissue, nervous tissue, and with the here is the sodium and potassium, for example, will also lead to negative and positive charge attract due to the water molecule, and it will move into the blood, and the deficiency of the potassium and the sodium will be decreased, deficient in the nervous system will lead to increase the polyuria due to the sodium, loss of sodium, and polydipsia due to the high urination, and polyuria due to the high water a level in the blood circulatory system and high blood pressure and nerves damage and memory loss. So that's all thing is why, because the sodium and potassium will remain balanced in our nervous system. Why? And water is requirement is the 80% water content in the brain lead to normal function 80 to 90%. When water will move from the nervous system into the blood circulatory system, so you can think about that. What is the basically all mineral and vitamin etc, which that's water soluble vitamin, water soluble basically water soluble vitamin is the vitamin B1, and water soluble ions will move into the blood circulatory system, and during the polyuria all mineral and vitamin will be lost. So here is the neurological effect is the hypothalamus, which is able to use the slower heart rate and hunger and thirst, which that is lead to change, and it increase the blood pressure. While on the other hand, the hippocampus is used for the difficult to learn loss of memory. Why? Because hippocampus is used for the learning, and medulla is used for the maintaining and breathing temperature as well as maintaining the temperature. So the shutdown in everyone consumption time. On the other hand, the cerebellum is used for the balance, so the loss of balance will be occur due to the brain deficiency of water and sodium and potassium. So that means deficiency of the ions due to the increase of the dehydration will lead to absorb the sodium and potassium into the blood. So that's the cerebral cortex is used for the thinking, so saying something without think about wrong or right, you can say during the first alcohol consumption and after every consumption, chronic alcohol consumption. So that was our view of the ethanol consumption, that's chronic ethanol biochemistry as well as physiology and neurological